Buenos días. Declaro abierta la sesión número 9978 del Consejo de Seguridad. En el orden del día provisional de esta sesión figura el siguiente punto: la situación en Oriente Medio. Queda aprobado el orden del día. De conformidad con el artículo 37 del Reglamento Provisional del Consejo, invito a la delegación del Yemen a participar en esta sesión. Así queda acordado. De conformidad con el artículo 39 del Reglamento Provisional del Consejo, invito a participar en esta sesión a los siguientes exponentes: señor Hans Grundberg, enviado especial del Secretario General para el Yemen, y señor Ramesh Raja Sinhan, director de la División de Coordinación y jefe y representante de la Oficina de Coordinación de Asuntos Humanitarios en Ginebra. Así queda acordado. El Consejo de Seguridad comenzará ahora el examen del punto 2 del orden del día. Doy la palabra al señor Hans Grundberg.
Gracias, señor ministro, señor presidente. Mr. President, the regional turmoil continues to erode prospects for peace and stability in Yemen, where the situation remains deeply fragile. There is an urgent need for proactive and pragmatic measures that can pave the way for peace in Yemen. We must remain steadfast in our shared efforts to propel Yemen toward a future where the country is at peace with itself and with the region. Last month, when I briefed this council, I outlined 3 priorities to lay the groundwork for lasting solutions to Yemen. The first was supporting de-escalation on the front lines and working with the parties on the tenets of a ceasefire. While the front lines have mostly seen stable levels of hostility, on the 25th of July, we saw a significant assault on the Aleb front in Sada Governorate, resulting in high numbers of fatalities and injuries on both sides. We also see Ansar Allah fortifying its positions, including around Hodeidah city. These developments are concerning and highlight the need for active de-escalation and security dialogue between the parties. Last week, my office concluded the latest series of meetings with government of Yemen and regional security actors under the auspices of the UN-facilitated Military Coordination Committee. The work of the MCC is crucial to de-escalation along the front lines and preparations to implement and manage a future ceasefire. Over the course of the week, the parties discussed the role of the MCC in de-escalation along those front lines that have experienced renewed hostilities over the past year. They also addressed challenges in the maritime domain, exploring options that could be pursued in the event of a return to ceasefire negotiations. The second priority is establishing a path for talks between the parties in line with the commitments made toward the roadmap in December 2023. To not lose sight of these commitments, it is essential that measures that build trust and improve the day-to-day lives of Yemenis continue. In this regard, we're seeing positive and ongoing momentum to address road access in different parts of the country, and notably the route connecting Baida and Abyan governorates. I want to acknowledge the valuable contributions made by civil society in advancing these efforts and express my full support for these initiatives. I encourage the parties to open more key roads and to take further steps to facilitate movement of people and commercial activity. My office remains ready to support efforts toward this goal. Mr. President, the parties can also make progress toward broader political talks by finding solutions and compromises that enable the effective functioning of Yemen's economy to deliver goods and services for all. In recent discussions with government officials, business representatives, and civil society in Aden, my office continued to push for dialogue to address the root causes of Yemen's economic issues. Further economic escalation and fragmentation is in no one's interest. It is crippling Yemeni households and has a stranglehold over Yemen's private sector. It is vital to find the will and space to act, and the time is now. In this regard, I welcome the recent steps taken by the Central Bank of Yemen in Aden and the government of Yemen more broadly to address the recent currency depreciation. I congratulate both on the marked improvement of the exchange rate in government of Yemen areas. I also commend the government of Yemen for its efforts to stabilize the prices of essential goods in light of the recent appreciation of the currency. I hope that these steps mark the start of a sustained recovery. Mr. President, to make continued progress, as I have said before, the parties need to take actions that build trust and good faith. Unfortunately, we have seen the opposite in the last month, with unilateral and escalatory decisions that risk deepening divisions within institutions and state structures. There are numerous examples of such decisions. One is the issuance of the new 50 Riyal coins and 200 Riyal notes by Ansarallah, which contributes to the fragmentation of the Yemeni Riyal and complicates future discussions to unify the Yemeni economy and its institutions. There are several other examples of unilateral decisions aiming at dividing institutions rather than unifying them. These are steps in the wrong direction. Instead, I urge dialogue between parties, which is the only way to bring about long-term sustainable solutions on all matters which affect the day-to-day lives of the Yemenis. The third priority is the continued work with the region and the international community to stabilize and support Yemen. This includes addressing the need for security guarantees, including with respect to the Red Sea. The recent seizure off the Red Sea coast of Yemen of a significant cache of weapons and technology once again underscores the importance of reminding all member states of their obligation to fully comply with the UN Security Council resolutions concerning the UN's arms embargo. Mr. President, following the sinking of two
تفضلي, you stand here. Oh, okay. تمام. We need more people to go on the other side. Are we okay? Well, thank you very much for responding to our request to meet with you. As you see, we are the Arab group and the OIC together that called for this meeting. We had an emergency meeting of the OIC group yesterday afternoon, in which we discussed the latest situation as it relates to the decision of the Israeli government to unleash a massive military campaign against our people in the Gaza Strip. And we decided to have this press conference. The Arab group had also an emergency meeting on Friday last week, and the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People had also a meeting of its bureau. The Security Council had its meeting. A group of countries, the Europeans in the Security Council, met before you here, before the session of the Security Council. So many groups met, made declarations and statements, and we also, the Arab Islamic Ministerial Committee issued a declaration. We have copies of it. If you need, we can make it available to you. And we decided in the OIC meeting yesterday to read a summary statement to you stemming from the ministerial, the Arab OIC Ministerial Committee on the plan of the Israeli government to escalate the military situation and to bring more condemnation against our people in the Gaza Strip. We condemn that, as the committee does, and we demand, all of us, an immediate ceasefire and humanitarian assistance to our people. But I let my sister, the Chargé of Turkey, to read the statement, which is the summary of the Ministerial Committee declaration, because Turkey is presiding over the Ministerial Council of the OIC.
Thank you, Minister Mansour. As he mentioned, Turkey, as the current chairman of the OIC group of OIC foreign ministers, I have the honor to read the joint statement of the OIC group in New York on the recent developments in the Gaza Strip, which is based on the joint statement by the Ministerial Committee mandated by the Joint Extraordinary Arab Islamic Summit. The OIC group expresses its strong condemnation and categorical rejection of Israel's announcement of its intention to impose full military control over the Gaza Strip. We consider this announcement a dangerous and unacceptable escalation, a flagrant violation of international law, and an attempt to entrench the illegal occupation and impose a fait accompli by force, in contravention of international law, international humanitarian law, and relevant United Nations resolutions. The group reaffirms that this declared course of action by Israel constitutes a continuation of its grave violations, including killing and starvation, attempts at forced displacement and annexation of Palestinian land, the settler terrorism, which are crimes that may amount to crimes against humanity. We demand the immediate and comprehensive cessation of the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip and an end to the ongoing violations committed by the occupying forces against civilians and civilian infrastructure in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. We also demand that Israel, as the occupying power, immediately and unconditionally allow the entry of humanitarian assistance at scale into the Gaza Strip, including food, medicine, and fuel, and ensure the freedom of operation of relief agencies and international humanitarian organizations in accordance with international humanitarian law and its applicable principles. We reiterate our full support for the efforts undertaken by the Arab Republic of Egypt, the State of Qatar, the United States of America to achieve a ceasefire and reach an agreement for the exchange of prisoners and hostages as a fundamental humanitarian entry point to de-escalation, alleviating suffering and ending the aggression. We call for the immediate commencement of implementation of the Arab Islamic Reconstruction Plan of the Gaza Strip and for active participation in the upcoming Reconstruction Conference to be held in Cairo. We reiterate our rejection and condemnation of all attempts to displace the Palestinian people from their land in Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and the affirmation of the need to preserve the legal and historical status quo of the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem, while recognizing the key role of the Hashemite custodianship in this regard. We are firm that a just and lasting peace can only be achieved through the implementation of the two-state solution, ensuring the realization of an independent Palestinian state on the 1967 lines with East Jerusalem as its capital, in accordance with the principles of international law and relevant UN resolutions. To this end, we hold the Israeli occupation fully responsible for the ongoing genocide and the unprecedented humanitarian catastrophe taking place in the Gaza Strip, and calls upon the international community, particularly the permanent members of the Security Council, to assume their legal and humanitarian responsibilities and to take urgent action to stop Israel's illegal, aggressive policies aimed at undermining prospects for a just and lasting peace, and eliminating any horizon for the implementation of the two-state solution, and ensuring immediate accountability for all violations committed by Israel against international law and international humanitarian law, including those amounting to genocide. Finally, we also underscore the need to implement the outcomes of the high-level international conference on the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and the implementation of the two-state solution held in New York, co-chaired by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the French Republic, including the urgent operational time-bound measures contained in this final outcome document to end the war in Gaza, and the implementation of a political path to achieve the comprehensive peaceful settlement of the Palestinian question and the implementation of the two-state solution. I thank you.
Okay. Yes, Talal?
Thank you. Talal Hajr Arabiya. Beside the condemnation and the statements and the Security Council's sessions, Israel seems, and I'm sure you have noticed, does not pay any attention to the world, international law or humanitarian law, or the Security Council resolutions. Beyond that, what can the Muslim and Arab countries do to force the Israeli government to implement the minimum of human rights? We also yesterday, the extrajudicial killing of journalists like ourselves, just to silence the voices in Gaza before they invaded. What can we do besides reading statements and communications? Please, anyone?
Thank you. We fully concur with your views expressed particularly for the killing of the journalists. This is a deliberate policy to silence the journalists, but we were all aware that the truth cannot be silenced. As a matter of fact, I have the honor also to announce that my minister called on the OIC delegation in New York to commence an extraordinary OIC group meeting to discuss a possible course forward to take actions in this regard. In the meantime, We are delighted to observe last Sunday that majority of the Security Council members concur with putting an end to the Israeli policies.
If I may add also, the conference that took place the end of last month in New York was predicated in its concept paper that this is an action-oriented conference, which means that in addition to reiterating, as you have indicated, the principled position which we appreciate in terms of a just solution to the conflict, which requires the end of this illegal occupation and allowing the Palestinian people, among other things, to exercise self-determination, it requires practical steps by the institutions of the UN, including the Security Council, and it has to shoulder its responsibility. And we appreciate the relatively cohesion and unity by almost everyone in the Security Council demanding Israel to stop this, crime against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. But that is also in itself is not enough. Therefore, we are asking these institutions to take further steps to force Israel to comply with its obligation, and the Security Council has tools available to it if they wish to act accordingly. But states in their national capacity can take also steps. I will give few examples of steps that have been taking place, not only from Europe, although Europe is important because it has an extensive relationship with Israel, such as the European Union is seriously considering maybe suspending, if not the agreement on trade with Israel, but certain parts of it, and it has other tools available to it, so they are seriously considering that. A number of countries, including Spain and others, decided, to suspend military, export, import with Israel. That is also very important. Germany took a step, maybe it's a modest, but it's a very important, step by indicating that they will not send weapons to Israel to be used to kill the Palestinian children. Now, on the countries of the south, my sister from Turkey forgot to say that early in this aggression, they took measures to suspend many of their trade relationship, with Israel and arms sales. Colombia, for example, severed the diplomatic relationship with Israel and decided not to send any of its coal to Israel because they export coal and they have other relationship about sending CO2 to Israel. They suspended all these things. These are examples in which a growing number of countries are considering taking measures in their national capacity. And I think that momentum is getting bigger and bigger, and we need to succeed collectively from all these parts, including the different components of the United Nations, until we force Israel to comply with its obligation under the Charter of the UN, and also the legal systems of the United Nations, whether the ICJ, the ICC. Although these institutions, they move slowly, but nevertheless they are also acting. But I think what is really significant that Europe is now acting in a practical way and thinking in a practical way, in a fast way that should be complemented by all other countries in order to bring Israel into compliance. So we are now in the midst of this stage. We hope that we can succeed in not allowing them to execute the plan that they declared, but this requires more efforts, more pressure, more mobilization, and this is a step, maybe a modest step in this direction. We have to stay the course, and it is your duty, because you referred to Palestinian journalists that were assassinated by Israel in Gaza yesterday, which we condemn that in the strongest terms, and we hope that the international legal system would go after those who have committed these crimes so that they face the punishment that they deserve. But we need to intensify all of our efforts. We urge you to keep pressuring everyone. You need to send large delegations of journalists to go to the Gaza Strip to see with your own eyes the reality of our people and the crimes committed by Israel, and to report back on it. We ask the Security Council to go and visit and to see with their own eyes the reality there. They are the independent parties. We do not trust the reporting of the Israeli occupying authorities about the reality in the Gaza Strip and the lie that there is no starvation. Everyone saying is starvation. We lost more than 200 people. About half of them are children because of starvation, and more might lose their lives because of lack of food, medicine, and water. We have to intensify the pressure until the Israeli occupying authorities to stop these criminal policies and actions and to reverse this. Abdul Hamid.
Thank you, Ambassador. I have a question on the journalist issue. Maybe Ambassador Hassim and Ambassador Tariq can answer that. Why not put pressure on to call for a special meeting of the Security Council on the protection of journalists? And why not also pressure to create the post of a special envoy on the protection of journalists? Thank you.
He addressed these two.
Thank you, Brother Siam. I would put it more broadly. I think as Ambassador Riyad Mansour was explaining, Israel's continued and persistent, blatant violations of international law and its total disregard for UN Security Council and General Assembly resolutions on the question of Palestine, and the impunity that it has enjoyed so far, are being increasingly questioned by the international community. And I think you have seen the international conference on the two-state solution and the question of Palestine. The will of the international community was clearly expressed. And the thing, as Ambassador Riyad Mansour was saying, now it has to be the whole of system approach and response to this. The General Assembly has pronounced its position. It's now the big responsibility of the Security Council to also undertake and shoulder its responsibility. So you have heard the meeting that took place on Sunday. It was almost unanimous, the call that the Security Council must act. And I think for us, for Pakistan as a member of the Security Council, we cannot accept that we are years later going to be blamed that the Security Council did not act. So we are determined. There are provisions in the Charter that enable the Security Council to take this action, that enable the Security Council to demand that Israel is stopped from taking those steps that it has announced, and we will be working together with other members of the Security Council to transform that collective expression that you heard in the Security Council on Sunday in terms of something more concrete.
Tariq, if you want to say something about the journalists.
Thank you. Well, I couldn't agree more with Ambassador Asim and, of course, Dr. Riyad and my colleague from Turkey about what is happening now. I think international law, the protections provided by international law for journalists is there. Having an extra meeting for it does not really necessarily add to this. Resolutions of the Security Council exist protecting journalists, humanitarian workers, hospitals, infrastructure for humanitarian work. Resolution 2417 on using starvation and hunger as an act of aggression is there. Everything exists. It's about implementing it. It's about holding Israel to account. It's about the impunity that has persisted for 80 years now. There comes a time when this needs to be stopped, and the time is now. We have reached a point where the world's conscience has awoken. It is also your duty. I know many of you have been raising this issue in the press and in your organizations, but it's also the duty of you. Your colleagues are being murdered in cold blood in front of your eyes, in front of the whole world. It is you that need to keep this issue in the media, in the consciousness of the world. So everybody has a responsibility here, including member states, including the Security Council, of course, but also the media, international organizations, NGOs. Everybody has a responsibility, and we need to live up to that responsibility.
Yes.
Ambassador Mansour, Javier Otaku from FPV Spanish News Service. You have mentioned practical steps. You have given some examples of Western countries, Muslim countries. What about Arab countries? What about those who still maintain relations with Israel? Do you have any expectations from these Arab brother countries?
You see that we do have expectations from everyone. We do not exclude anyone. We respect the sovereign right of each state to act according to their calculations, but I am confident that the Arab and Muslim countries will step up to the plate. There are huge things before us, including, the support to the return of the national authority to assume its responsibility in Gaza. We reject the Israeli occupation. We demand its withdrawal, and we have an alternative solution, which is the outcome document and annex of the international conference, which was led by Saudi Arabia and France. And from the Arab countries and the Muslim countries, Saudi Arabia speaks on behalf of everyone. And as we see things unfolding, don't be surprised to see more steps to take place, including when the international conference for the reconstruction of Gaza, which requires tens of billions of dollars, to see more of concrete things to be brought to the table from many countries, including the Arab countries that they have financial capabilities. If you want to ask in Arabic a question.
Can I answer in English?
In English,
so everybody
okay.
can answer. So as after these meetings you mentioned, and as Islamic and Arab groups, what's your next step within the UN to put more pressure on the specifically the permanent members in the Security Council to act urgently?
We are continuing with our consultations with all members of the Security Council, including the President, of course. And we are observing, and that's not only our observation, but the observation of our friends in the Security Council, that there is emerging cohesion and unity and outrage of what is really happening, and they are exerting tremendous amount of pressure in order to stop the killing, stop the military operations, to have a ceasefire, permanent ceasefire, to force allowing humanitarian assistance to take place. We are closely observing the groupings in Europe in which they are making not only statements, but they are taking steps. For example, Norway, one of its biggest funds that invests billions of dollars, maybe tens of billions of dollars in the Israeli economy, they are withdrawing, their assets there. That is a significant step. Countries like the UK, Italy, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, deciding, threatening Israel. If you do not stop this aggression, if you do not reverse your position on the plan, things will take place. Australia announced yesterday that it is going to recognize the State of Palestine. I refer to Germany. I am referring to the discussion inside the 27 European countries composing the European Union on trade, on many relationships with Israel, and they are seriously considering taking steps. Of course, I know that the Arab countries and the OIC, in the declaration that they issued, they made a lot of statements, and they can take additional steps. I am sure that they are considering these steps, but everybody is calculating very cautiously because they do not want to strengthen the relationship between one country that is so powerful, that is really giving the protection to Israel. I guess everyone is trying to sort of find ways to separate the relationship between these two parties, because that one big country is capable to exert pressure on them. That is the experience of Qatar and Egypt as mediators with this other country in order to find ways to have ceasefire. So everybody is, we are not interested, as I think my colleague said, to have more resolutions in which we have many, including Resolution 2735. We want its implementation. But we need to find ways to convince one party to come closer to the global consensus that enough is enough. The solution is not wars. We have another option. We have an alternative option. And the alternative option was decided by the international community in the declaration and the annex of the International Conference on the Two-State Solution, which will be resumed on the 22nd of September in New York. So therefore, while we see what is really happening, and we are playing a big role, all of us, in maintaining it, in keeping it united, not fragmenting it, strengthening it, so that to try to find ways to have a crack between the Israeli belligerent, vicious, criminal government and one state that is giving it protection, quasi-protection, because if we succeed in that issue, I think that would accelerate many practical steps to be announced by many countries, and then Israel cannot withstand such a pressure from all of them. We are acting responsibly because if we do not act in that manner, it will cost our people tens of thousands killed, injured, and expelled. Now, somebody might say tens of thousands of our people have been killed. That is true, but now there is nothing that we can do about those who were killed, but we can do a lot about saving the lives of those who are still alive, and it is our responsibility to do everything possible in order to save their lives. I think we have enough, but we will keep you informed. Okay, I cannot say no to you. Tfaddali.
One question. During the high-level conference on the two-state solution, France and Saudi Arabia asked all countries to sign the declaration going to their mission. I would like to know if you have any count on that, and what can we expect for the General Assembly. Thank you.
You're asking the wrong person. You have to ask France and Saudi Arabia. But in my speech in the Security Council Sunday, and we say it in front of everyone, we urge everyone, those who have not sent messages to France and to Saudi Arabia, declaring that they are joining and approving the declaration and the annex, to do so. I think that by September, we hope that we will be having more than 100 additional countries than the maybe 30 or 40 that have signed this declaration so far. We need to make that the blueprint of the global consensus of the international community on the alternative plan. It is not our destiny. It is not the destiny of the Palestinian people to have an eternal conflict with Israel and to keep losing thousands of our children and women and our people on the hand of this war machine by Israel. It is our duty to convince everyone that there is another alternative, the alternative of immediate ceasefire. As we see the millions, the hundreds of millions in all capitals are saying they want to save the lives of the Palestinian people, ceasefire now, that's their cry. And the leaders who are not yet convinced of that message should listen to everyone. We should stop the fighting, we should stop the killing of the Palestinian people, and then get to the business of ending this illegal occupation and allow the Palestinian people to enjoy freedom and dignity in their own independent state with East Jerusalem as its capital. It's not easy, it is difficult, but that is the correct path, that is the moral path, that is the legal path, and we need everyone to contribute in their own way, including journalists. As my brother, Tariq said, as you tell us what we are doing, and that is a legitimate question you ask us, we are also telling you, tell the story of the Palestinian people. Tell about the crimes in which more than 270 journalists were killed trying to tell the story of our people in the Gaza Strip. And more than 400 individuals from humanitarians, brave ones, most of them from UNRWA, who gave their lives trying to distribute humanitarian assistance to Palestinians who are in need, especially children of these humanitarian assistance. We all need to do our share of fighting for justice for the Palestinian people and fighting against this criminal genocidal regime in Israel who thinks that they can eliminate the Palestinian people. There is no force on earth that can eliminate the Palestinian people, and we are entrenched to our land, and we will put, with the help of everyone, an end to this tragedy and enjoy freedom and dignity when we exercise our right to self-determination. Again, I thank you very much for being with us today, and I want to thank my colleagues, the OIC, the Arab Group, the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, and we will meet with you as often as needed. Thank you. Thank you. This way.
طلعت لي بوسه من المؤتمر حبيبي